Welcome, everyone. Huddle Up Podcast. We're live October the 4th, 2021. We're glad to be with you. And we have some different faces with us this week. And you'll have to forgive if the video's freezing and things like that. As we all know, working and living in a work from home world, that technology isn't always our friend. But we did test everything. We can hear all of the guys. Up on top next to me is Joe. Down below me is Jason, and we have Andrew down in the bottom right corner. And they are from the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. Friends of mine for a very long time. We're glad to have them on the show because a little bit different. Now, we will talk about some football tonight, but obviously tonight, the first of the wild card games, and we will talk about those, give some of our predictions on the baseball playoffs, and talk some baseball with the guys as well. But let's get the introductions out of the way. And guys, it's only proper, I think, because this is something you do on your show. Tonight, I am drinking a Pipe Dream from Funk Brewing in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. It is a Hazy Imperial IPA, 8%. I got a couple of these sitting next to me, so we're going to have some fun here tonight. Andrew, why don't we start with you? Introduce yourself to the listeners and what you're drinking tonight.
So I'm Andrew. Years and years ago, Jim got me back into podcasting and sports-related stuff with the old Big Jim Sports page. That was a lot of fun before that came crashing down at the end with the Bears reveal that never happened.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, boy, that was something else. I think we never got more reactions to any one thing we ever put up than that.
Ain't that the truth?
So tonight, as I said last night on our podcast, from the Victory Brewing Company, because Jason, before you shake your head, it's the beer I still had in the fridge. I didn't have time to run out and get any more today. So I'm drinking Golden Monkey tonight because the Braves are #1. They got the gold medal, and hey, we're shooting for victory in October. Victory Brewing, it all works, man.
Very nice, very nice. One of my best friends in the entire world. And was actually in my wedding, and I was in his wedding. So, Jason, welcome in. Let everybody know a little about yourself and what you're drinking tonight as well.
Yeah, so Andrew, I completely understand where you're coming from then. So I'm Jason. I am one of the co-hosts for Dollar Dogs and Beer. And Jim, I've known you since high school, one of my best friends and, fellow Cowboys fan here. So tonight, I am going more with a whiskey than a beer. This is the Lagavulin Nick Offerman edition, 92 proof. So again, we're going to have some fun tonight because this is also neat with a couple drops of water to open it up. It's delicious. 11-year single malt Scotch whiskey.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
That sounds good.
And up on top next to me is a guy I've known for a very long time. Like, of course, one of the third man of the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast crew. Joe, welcome in. Tell them about yourself and what you're drinking tonight as well.
Yeah, I've been longtime friends with these guys here, and I'm the non-NL East fan in the bunch. So I'm a big Cub fan, and drinking Southern Comfort and Pepsi tonight because I need something a little stronger.
Hey, we have all been there. We have all been there. And I mean, I won't see. Here's the problem. I won't identify myself as with the NL East. Unfortunately, I have to associate myself with the American League East, or the least of the American League, the least of Major League Baseball. But we'll talk about the Orioles in just a couple of seconds, guys. Obviously, the playoffs begin tonight with the first of the two wild card play-ins. We'll get to those here in a second. The topic of MVP has obviously been is always one that gets conversations going. So let's start in the American League. For me, and I know they're a team that didn't make the postseason, but the fact that they were even close, for me, has to play right into the hand of this guy. 48 home runs, Vlad Jr. To me, I don't know of many more people more valuable to their success or than anything. And so to me, I probably would cast my vote for Vlad Jr. in Toronto. Joe, who do you have for your AL MVP?
It took me a long time to get here, but I'm on the Shohei train. Jason's been talking about Shohei all year long, and I'm finally on board. 103 runs scored, 3.18 ERA as a pitcher, 100 RBIs, 26 stolen bases, 156 strikeouts as a pitcher, and 46 home runs. Guy's done it all.
Yeah, definitely. One of the most fun players to watch, and really kind of, carried. I wouldn't say carried Major League Baseball on his back throughout the year, but without a doubt was one of the players that I would say probably grabbed the attention of non-baseball fans the most when you have a guy playing on both sides, pitching and in the field like he did, and really grabbed the attention of a lot of people. Jason, who do you have as your AL MVP?
Yeah, so I think at our preseason picks, we all had Vlad Jr., and I changed midway through to Shohei, and I'm going to stick with Shohei here. Aside from the dual threat and only being 2 off of the home run pace, he did end up leading all of Major League Baseball in wins above replacement, or WAR. So I think the fact that he's that once in a generation one that you've never seen this, pitcher and hitter and do so well at both. I think while Vladdy is absolutely deserving and any other season probably wins it, I'm going with Shohei this time.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously can't argue with that. He's a guy that, it makes everybody go, why don't more people do the both sides of the game sort of a thing? So a great pick there as well. And Andrew, who do you have as your AL MVP?
I've been hopping back and forth all season on the Shohei versus the Vlad train. I'm going to stick with Vlad for one reason. He almost got the team to the playoffs, whereas the Angels weren't even close despite Shohei Ohtani's brilliance. I think Vlad did more to help bring his team up higher and almost get them in. I mean, we came very close to what I was calling the ultimate chaos scenario of a 4-way tie for 2 American League wildcard spots, which I'm still kind of disappointed didn't happen, just because, hey, my team's not affected by it. So, I just love watching that kind of stuff go down. But he got that team within 1 game. He was tied with Salvi Perez for the home run race in the AL. I just can't not pick Vlad. Shohei had an amazing season, and really, I'm not going to be upset if Shohei wins. I'm not going to be gloating if Vlad wins. Either pick's the right pick. Truthfully, if they would make it a split MVP this year, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And when you're looking at too the fact that you finish 4th place in that division, every team not from Charm City had 90 or plus wins, is quite impressive that you are, in the hunt down to the end. And like you said, almost made that chaos scenario. The Orioles keeping it close, though, finished only 48 games out of first. Quite an accomplishment for my Birds.
Under 50.
Yeah, under 50 games back. Pretty impressive work, guys. Holy smokes, that is just abysmal. But let's switch over to the National League. This is one that I think has probably been a bit more polarizing for, especially I think if you're in the state of Pennsylvania. There's been a lot of discussion about it. For me, and you can kind of call it homerish, even though I'm not a Phillies fan. I just think if you look at what Bryce Harper did for that team, and I know they didn't make the playoffs, and I'm somebody that doesn't necessarily, and I get why a lot of times, and it's not just in baseball, when you look at the Heisman Trophy, or you look at any of the league MVPs, a lot of times it ends up being the person like the best player on one of the best teams, which I think kind of takes away the spirit of the award a bit. So I kind of try, when I try and make my picks, I try to steer away from that a bit as well, and just look at the player and what they've done. And When you look at the numbers and when you compare historically what Bryce Harper did this year, and it's just downright impressive. So to me, Bryce Harper is your NL MVP. We'll work backwards this time. So we'll start with Andrew. Andrew, who do you got?
So yeah, how long have we been debating this, guys? We've been legitimately debating this for the last month and a half, honestly. Here's my problem with Harper, because he had a phenomenal season. In the biggest series of the year, he shit the bed and did nothing. He walked once, he scored 1 run, no hits, struck out, 9 times, Jason? Is that what we said last night? Yeah. It was a terrible series for Harper in the Braves series, and that's what knocked them completely out of the playoff contention. So I have a hard time picking him for MVP because of that. Now, if we're going to look at MVP candidates that made the playoffs, my 2 are Austin Riley and Trey Turner. Jason's going to yell homer. He's right about that. But Riley had a great season in his first full season. But Trey Turner, guys, I was looking at his numbers a little bit today. It's probably because he moved out west. Holy crap. He ended the year 328, 375, 536. He scored 107 runs and 195 hits. I mean, the dude had a 6.5 WAR. He led the NL in stolen bases. He had a 970 fielding percentage between second base and shortstop. The dude had an insane year. And honestly, Jason, my pick for as I brought up the other night, my pick for non-playoff teams is going to be Juan Soto. I mean, 313, 465, 534 line, second in average, first in OBP, 157 hits, 111 runs scored, and that incredible walk number at 145, along with 23 intentional walks, which both led the league. I mean, Harper, yeah, man, he had an incredible season, no doubt about that. I mean, those are my 2 picks. You have a pick from a contender, you have a pick from a non-contender. If Harper gets it, will I be upset? No, he had a hell of a season too. I just don't think, especially when he crapped out at the end when they needed him the most, I have a hard time giving it to him for that.
That's fair. Jason, why did you select Bryce Harper?
Of course I chose Bryce Harper. But first off, Andrew, Austin Riley is not even going to be in the top 5.
He's man. We'll see.
He's going to be like 6 or 7. Jim, you know how Dave likes to look at Vegas betting odds and things like that.
I do, yeah.
I pulled a Dave here and went and looked at the Vegas betting odds, and Riley was like 7th or 8th. You had Trey Turner. Trey Turner was, I believe, 4 or 5. Your top 3 were Harper, Soto, and Tatis. Andrew, you said that, in the biggest series, how Harper struggled, which is accurate, but one series does not make for an entire season of MVP worthiness. And I'm actually going to use something that you just said for Vladdy against you. You said that Vlad Jr. put the team on his back and got that team within a game of the wild card. Mm-hmm. Without Bryce Harper, the Phillies aren't even at 500, and they're out of division contention early September. Bryce Harper had an incredible second half and full season. He's one of only 4 outfielders in MLB history to go with 100 runs scored, 40 doubles, 35 home runs, and 100 walks. He led Major League Baseball in OPS and was the only one above 1 for OPS, tied for the league lead in doubles. And again, he had that team success is Harper. Without Harper, they aren't there. And he did, his numbers are about 20 to 30 less at bats and 10 less games than Juan Soto. So I think if anybody beats Bryce Harper, I think it's going to be Juan Soto. But looking at the success of the team, which also goes into it, and who's the most valuable player on that team, to me, it's absolutely Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I mean it's compelling argument either way. Joe, who do you have as your NL MVP?
I think I'm gonna go with two, kind of like Andrew did, one contender, one non. I think the non-contender for me is easily Bryce Harper. To do what he accomplished and to put the Phillies as close as they were without Rhys Hoskins in the lineup, I mean, that was huge. A lot of the guys for Philly just didn't put up the numbers they needed, and Bryce was the guy. I think contender-wise, Trey Turner is amazing. Not only does he have all those numbers you mentioned, Andrew, but he's got the smoothest slide in baseball.
Yes, he does.
And I think, early on in our show, I said that he was kind of an underrated player. I think he's kind of gotten rid of that moniker, I think, now.
Yeah. That's a fair point. If we're going to talk about a guy carrying a team, though, that had so little around him, Juan Soto had less around him than Bryce Harper did for more of the season.
You just can't give it to Bryce, can you?
Homer.
Like I said, I won't be upset. I won't. How is Soto a homer pick?
Because you just hate the Phillies and Bryce Harper.
I hate the Phillies. I don't hate Harper nearly as much as I used to. He's become very likable, actually.
You just can't accept Harper as the top player here. And
roll the
Jim,
tape.
we've gone back and forth with this over the last few weeks.
That I'd be okay if he got it. I just think there are other people that I like better,
like Austin Riley. We need to get you some
Riley's
beer,
not
Homer.
gonna pass, man. Riley's not going to pass Turner. He's not going to pass Turner. No, once I saw how massive Turner's numbers got, I was like, yeah, shit, this ain't going to happen. I still think he'll get top 5. But like I said, you want to talk about a guy carrying with less. That was Juan Soto, not Bryce Harper.
But
Harper
the team still didn't do well, which is going to be an issue.
It is, but then again, didn't Barry Bonds win one when the Giants totally tanked?
I mean,
maybe.
I have to look that up
a little bit, but yeah, we'll see. Now, those when do those come out? Those come out after the World Series, right? The awards.
Either right after or the week leading in. I can't remember which.
Yeah.
So it'll be a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to keep a watch on that. I know. And if you guys, if you're listening to this, you're not subscribed. If you're baseball fans, give these guys a subscribe. They're on all podcast platforms. You definitely get much further into the weeds in the game of baseball than I ever cared to. And that's partially just because, and we'll switch gears here to my Orioles, because usually as an Orioles fan, my baseball season ends in February. So, there's really never too much for me to talk about, get interested in, or anything like that. The Orioles do have the number 1 pick in the upcoming draft. And I was talking to a friend of the show. He was on here with my brother and I last fall, I believe. Justin Daniels actually works at the MLB Network, and we were discussing, and he kind of threw out a couple of names at me that he thought would be solid picks for the Orioles to take. Number 1, Connor Prelip, pitcher, had the Tommy John surgery. Dylan Lesko, pitcher as well, and Tamar Johnson, an infielder. But to you guys, because this we're talking, I barely get interested in the NFL draft. So getting me interested in knowing anything about what's going to make a difference with the Orioles in terms of draft stock, and I do understand that not only the limitations that the Orioles have, but the limitations when it's not like the NFL. You're not taking guys necessarily that are coming in and are day one ready. So, Jason, we'll start with you on this one. Is there anybody? Because I mean, there's no one person that's going to fix the Orioles. Let's not kid ourselves. But is there anybody that you think that the Orioles could take that because and it does sound funny to say, with 51 wins this year, 49 games out of first. Like, it feels funny to say that there was points where it felt like these small stretches that the Orioles were kind of figuring things out in a way. And I know like they have a young coaching staff, they have a lot of young players, and they do need to develop. But is there anybody that you think that they could bring in that is an immediate upgrade at whatever position they play? Jason, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and to be fair, Jim, the three of us, we've actually talked on our show about how the Orioles were not as bad as their record showed. You have to look at the division they play in, and they were beat up by four of the best teams in baseball. So,
Sure.
But it's funny that you mentioned Dylan Lesko and Tamar Johnson. I had those two on my list, but the way that I went about this was I looked to see who they have now, who they already have in their system. Like for the outfield, they have Cedric Mullins, they have Austin Hayes, and Heston Kjerstad was their number 2 pick last year. They have Adley Rutschman for catching. They have John Means and Grayson Rodriguez, who's a prospect. So I think they could use some starting pitching, and if they do, I would say Dylan Lesko would be the choice out of Buford High School in Georgia. He's a Gatorade Player of the Year, has a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, a good changeup, and is also a Vanderbilt recruit, which is a great program. If they go not pitcher, I actually had shortstop Brooks Lee from Cal Poly on my list here. I think he would be an instant upgrade to the left side of that infield. So, I mean, and you also have Mountcastle, who's up and playing spectacular. So I think having Brooks Lee on that left side of the infield would be huge.
All right, cool. Andrew, your thoughts?
So when you have the first overall pick, you tend to go with college guys because they're more ready, they're more polished. So of the high school guys, the one I would the one I'm looking at would be Dylan Lesko. The dude's a stud. He's got a mid-90s fastball plus changeup, and his breaking ball's not bad. From the college guys, I'm actually looking at a hard-throwing lefty, Reggie Crawford for UConn. 6'4", struck out 30 of the 56 batters he faced. Average of 96 in the fastball. He does hit 100 with it. He has a good power slider that hits 88 as well. The thing he's going to need to do is he's going to need an off-speed pitch, change up, another breaking ball, something like that. You can't really be a 2-pitch guy unless you're a closer. Jason, I absolutely agree with Brooks Lee. He's going to be a stud when he gets to the major leagues. One other guy I also like is he is in high school, but Drew Jones. He's down in Wesleyan, down in Georgia. He's actually Andrew Jones's son. And the scouts are saying he's a lot like his dad. He's really athletic. He plays really good defense already. He's got good speed. One scout said right now as a high school kid, they would give him grades of 60, especially on his defense in the outfield right now. And remember, MLB grade goes between 20 and 80. So that's high praise for a guy in high school already. And I mean, given that his dad was one of the best center fielders I ever saw play defensively, second maybe to Griffey, I can't think of anybody else who's better than Andrew Jones and Ken Griffey Jr. That's a pretty good stock to work with and start with.
Like sure, father, like son there.
Right. And I was going to say, you have a guy that, knows the lay of the land when it comes to Camden Yard in the city of Baltimore. So I'd have no problem seeing another Jones in center field in the orange and black. Joe, how about you?
I agree with the guys that they really hit all the guys that I would have said. I think for Baltimore, I think they're going to have to get some kind of free agent piece or a trade piece that can give them a boost while you're waiting for some of those guys to get up there. But
yeah, I mean, when you're in a division like they are, it's always an uphill climb, and their trips into the postseason a couple of years ago surprised me. It kind of came out of nowhere, and then just like that, gone. So it was like a breaking ball that doesn't break. It was gone. So
kind of like a Chris Davis's average.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Boy, that was a misguided contract as well, wasn't it? In hindsight. So definitely been a rough couple of years for the Orioles. But yeah, I agree that there was definitely points, and I mean, there was games where you'd end up losing 22-2 to Boston or the Yankees or something like that. But there was a couple of stretches that I remember. Well, I was joking with my dad that after the first week of the first weekend of the season, they were in first place because I think they took 2 out of 3 from New York. So there was you can definitely see the development there. It's just going to take some time.
And Jim, one thing that Jason and I have been talking about for the last 2 weeks now that the Phillies and the Braves played the Orioles late, they're not a bad team. The offense is there. The top line pitching is good. They have no depth behind it. So if the plan falls apart, they get shelled. But if the guys that are supposed to go out and do what they're supposed to do, they're not a bad club. They're not as bad as their record looked.
Yeah, 100%. So, I don't expect them to compete even in their division anytime soon. But, hopefully we'll see them develop a little bit more over the coming years. Now we switch to the postseason. Night 1 of the postseason is upon us with the Red Sox and the Yankees, because of course, why wouldn't it be that way? Playing in the first of the 2 wild card play-in games. Before we actually get to like our predictions and the Red Sox currently leading 3-0 in the bottom of the 4th, so the Yankees better start moving quick if they want to make something out of this. Not that I want either of these teams to win, but I'd probably choose the Yankees less than the Red Sox. But are you guys a fan of the play-in game in baseball? To me, it's always felt a little off. You play 162 games, everything's based on series play, and then to determine one of your playoff teams, it ends up being a play-in game. And I feel like it not only is it seems contradictory to the game of baseball and everything you've created, but also I feel like because everything from the teams that are in the play-in game, you either have to make a decision to really put your kind of best foot out there in terms of your bullpen and your pitching, that it can impact you once you get through that game and hopefully win, or you kind of stick with wherever you're at in the rotation, hope it works out, and then get to your game 1 starter in the postseason. So I've never been a big fan of it. I know baseball doesn't necessarily want to expand the postseason too much, but I feel like you make this a best of 3, and then you can still stick with the 5 and then the 2 sevens. Like I don't think adding 2 more games to your season at this point is going to make too crazy of an impact. Joe, I'll start with you. Are you a fan of the play-in game?
I'm not. I think I agree with you. It should be a best of 3 kind of thing. They're not going to lose much sleep over it. They're not going to really extend the season much to do that. And like you said, I mean, if the Yankees win this game, then they can't use Garrett Cole till maybe Saturday, Friday or Sunday, I think is what the way the NL works out with the schedule, or AL works out with the schedule. So, I mean, you burn your game 1 starter just to try to get in. Whereas, like you said, you can kind of strategize a little more, I think.
Yeah, it just seems very because if you have the 3-gamer, maybe don't start Cole, maybe you start with your number 2, and work from there, and depending what in this case Boston would throw out at you. It just always seems very weird. Andrew,
I hate the 1-game play-in. Exactly the reason why you mentioned baseball is a game built on series. Even these stupid 2-game mini series we've been complaining about all year, it's just dumb. There's no good reason why it's not a best of 3.
Yeah, Jason.
I don't mind it as much, I think, as Andrew and Joe do. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think that it's serving its purpose, which the main reason that this was brought in, I believe it was 2012 that they expanded that wild card, was to have meaningful games at the end of the season. I think in the past we have found that so many wild card berths or divisions were wrapped up before the last week or two. So the main purpose was to be entertaining and provide teams with something else to look forward to try and work hard to achieve. So I don't mind them only having just one play-in game, because that gets you your actual fourth team, your actual wild card into the playoffs. So I could take it or leave it, honestly.
Fair. All right, so we're at Boston in New York. Like I said, Boston with a 3-0 lead right now. We'll walk our way through the American League. I'll start with mine, and I will have absolutely zero frame of reference for why I'm making these picks. So I will preface myself on that one. It's kind of like when I sit down in front of an NCAA March Madness bracket and do the same thing. So like I said, for people that love baseball, definitely go and give these guys a follow, the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. Three guys that if I ever have a baseball question, one of them is the first place I go to for sure. So I circled this before this game even started because I'll never pick the Yankees. It's like a rule. I'm not even the biggest baseball fan, but if I make the list of franchises I hate the most, the Yankees are always in the top 5. I hate them. I can't stand them. And it has always been that way. It'll always be that way. You can't change my mind on it. So I have the Red Sox. I want the Red Sox to win this one. So they would go on to play the Rays. I have the Rays picking up a series win over Boston in 4 games. I have the Astros losing to the White Sox in 4 games as well. So that gives us an American League Championship Series of the Tampa Bay Rays and the Chicago White Sox. And I'm giving the White Sox the win in 6, just because I don't want to pick the team from the AL East, even if it is like the least horrible of the options, and also because I enjoyed the hell out of the White Sox, or the Cityscape uniforms, whatever the hell they were called. This year, I thought those were really cool. So give me the Chicago White Sox as your American League champions. Jason, we'll go to you first with the American League.
Yeah, so I think you're actually pretty spot on there, Jim. I took the Red Sox tonight mainly because Garrett Cole has not pitched well in Fenway this year, and he didn't pitch well tonight. You see me glancing over. I have the game on here.
Yeah, I have it on my iPad.
So. Garrett Cole's he already gave up a couple home runs tonight. It was 6th and 7th home run he's given up in like 17 or 18 innings at Fenway this year. So I had the Red Sox facing the Rays. I had the Rays winning that matchup. I'm thinking 4 games. It has a good potential to go 5. And then I am also taking the White Sox over the Astros. I think that one goes 5. I'm taking the White Sox in. I'm going to say 6. And the reason for that is the White Sox have a lot of big power hitters, and their pitching is also more well-rounded. So I think looking at the different teams, most of the teams have a very glaring hole. And I think that the Rays are ones that are not as weak all around, and same with the White Sox. So I think I'm going to actually give the edge to the White Sox here.
All right, solid. Joe, we'll go to you, American League.
This is a tough one, I think. I did think the Red Sox were going to win this game tonight. They've just been – they came out of nowhere this year, and they really were ahead of schedule and have really been impressive. And I can't remember what I said last night, but I'm going to go Red Sox over Rays in that series. And then I'm going to pick White Sox over the Astros. I'm going to go with the South Side. It's hard to do that, but I'll do it. And I think also, like you guys said, I think they're going to probably end up they would beat the Red Sox, I think. 5 or 6 games, I think.
All right, very good. Yeah, I agree. Like the Red Sox, I have a friend of mine who's a Red Sox fan. I remember talking to him before the season, He was like, yeah, we're, it's kind of starting to come together a couple of years out. And then, like you said, Joe, this team really did kind of come out of nowhere. Andrew, we'll go to you for the American League.
Yeah, so last night on our podcast, I took the Red Sox over the Yankees tonight. It looks like that's so far going to come true. It's still pretty early, and it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. By the way, guys, Garrett Cole was pulled after 2 innings.
Yikes.
Yeah, 2 innings.
Not great.
That's the beauty of the one game playing is you got a really short leash with some of these guys.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
you really have to. Even in a 5-game, 7-game series, you have to have a short leash. You can only really afford to sacrifice 1 game tops. So yeah, I picked the Red Sox. I'm definitely keeping that pick at this point. So last night, did I say? I can't remember if I said Rays or Red Sox. I think I said Rays. I'm going to go with the Rays, but I think it could be a legit 5-gamer for the ALDS. I think the White Sox are going to take the Astros down in 4. So my ALCS is looking like Rays and White Sox, and I'm going to take the White Sox in 5. I like the pitching better with the White Sox. Their bullpen is way better than Tampa Bay's is. Tampa Bay's got some great bats. The White Sox have better bats.
All right, then we move to the National League. Nice to see you guys actually agree with me for the American League. That makes me feel pretty good. Or it should make you guys feel like shit if it doesn't play out. We start with the playing game tomorrow night, Dodgers and Cardinals. And if you're talking about like logos in Major League Baseball, you can't get much cleaner than the two playing tomorrow night. I have the Dodgers. You're talking about a team that won 106 games and is playing a 1-gamer for their life. I'm not suggesting that Major League Baseball reshuffle the deck. I think every time formerly 7 and 9 team made the playoffs in the NFL, they start talking about how you should disqualify. Like, I don't think you should change the structure of the league based on kind of anomaly seasons. But my goodness, what a team out there! So I'll go Dodgers to pick up the win in the play-in game. I will also have them actually winning the series over the Giants, and I have that going all the way to 5. I think just probably the experience on that roster is going to play into their hand a little bit more than it will with the Giants. Andrew, sorry, don't even get mad. It's my show. I can kick you off. Brewers over the Braves in 4 games. So that gives us a Brewers-Dodgers NLCS, and this is probably going to surprise a lot of people. But again, I do this based on nothing. I'm just throwing things at the wall. I have the Brewers as your National League champion in 7 games. Anything can happen in the postseason, right, boys? Andrew, since I probably made you mad there with my NLDS pick, I'll go to you first here for the National League.
Like I said, man, Cotton, that's a bold-ass pick. All right, so for the wild card, 1-game BS wild card games come down to who's coming in the hottest. And there has been no team hotter in baseball over September than the St. Louis Cardinals.
That's a good point.
As much as it pained Joe to admit it on the podcast last night, nobody is hotter than the Cardinals right now. So I'm going to stick with my pick from last night. I think the Dodgers get knocked out by the Cardinals. And then I think the Giants will then subdue the Cardinals because they just have a far deeper team. They've got better pitching top to bottom. And let's face it, the Cardinals' best starter is Wainwright. And after that, the drop-off is pretty precipitous. It's not as bad as some of these Marlins teams that essentially ran Josh Beckett as many of the 7 games in the World Series as they could.
Here's your game 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7 starter.
Yeah, basically. So I don't think the Cardinals are going to get past the Giants. I hate picking sweeps in the playoffs, but I'm going to say 4, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants sweep. Now, the Braves-Brewers series, that actually, I was looking at, as I said to the guys last night, I was looking at the numbers from the 2 teams. Despite the difference in record, the actual statistical numbers are extremely similar between the Braves and the Brewers. The Brewers have slightly better starting pitching. They've got the best closer in baseball in Josh Hader. But their number 2 bullpen guy decided to punch a wall while he was drunk celebrating the division title. So he's gone for the playoffs and was also gone from the playoffs last year as well. So this is 2 years in a row he's not participating. I said last night, and I'm going to keep on with it, I'm going to take the Braves in 5. And then in the NLCS, if it's Braves Giants, I'm taking the Braves. Probably 6 or 7. But I know, total homer pick. I know. Dude, come on. It's my team.
Hey,
it's wrong if I'd pick anybody else.
No judgment over here, Andrew. No judgment over here. If you've listened to this show over the years, you've heard me pick. Well, I mean, not the Capitals were that far of a stretch, but you've heard me pick the Cowboys and the Fighting Irish in games that they don't belong in. So
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that over the last 5 years, if I just listened to the Huddle Up podcast, I'm pretty sure that the Cowboys are Super Bowl champs like 4 years running now,
right?
If not more.
if you listen to this show or watch my Madden franchise, but otherwise, otherwise it's not so great.
So. And here's the thing. You need 3 good starting pitchers to get you through a playoff series. The Braves have them. They've got Charlie Morton. They've got Max Fried. They've got Ian Anderson. And then they've got Huascar Yanoa at 4, who very much is a wild card pitcher. He's either brilliant or he gets hit pretty hard, which is why I hope they use him more out of the bullpen than starting. But, so I really do think the Braves have a shot, especially if the Dodgers get the hell knocked out in the wild card or the first round. I think the Braves have a shot.
All right. And Jason, let's go to you next.
Yeah. So wild card, I'm with Andrew on the wild card. It comes down to who's hot. And for me, it's absolutely St. Louis. So as hard as it is to go against a 106-win Dodgers team, I think that's just going to be the result of them not winning their division as they get a quick exit here. And then, so Cardinals against the Giants, I'm taking the Giants because they are a more complete team than the Cardinals are. As much as it pains me as a Phillies fan, having suffered through these Gabe Kapler team meltdowns the last few seasons before they let him go, he's done a tremendous job, avoided that collapse in San Francisco. He's going to be manager of the year, I think. And I think he takes his team to the NLCS. I think that series is going to be pretty quick. I'm going to go 4, I think, in that one. And then Braves and Brewers. Pitching matchups are very similar. Bullpens are very similar. Hitting, I would give the edge to the Braves, even without Acuna and Ozuna, just because they hit for power, but they also hit for average. So I think they're going to get on base a lot. They're going to get the runners moving. And I think they go as Will Smith goes. If Will Smith, their closer, pitches well, I think they're going to win in 4. I'll take them in 4 over the Brew Crew. So Braves, Giants, NLCS. Andrew, I'm going with your Braves.
Wow.
Whoa.
Man, I would have lost money on that bet.
Yeah, and the reason why is while Will Smith struggled, he has closed the series down lately. He's not, as long as he doesn't constantly serve up that slider. He needs to locate his fastball and use that slider down and into righties and things like that to get them out. I think the Braves' offense is more complete than the Giants, and I think their defense is also better than the Giants. So I'm going with the Braves taking on the White Sox.
All right, Joe. How about you?
Yeah, just one thing quick. Remember, too, Brandon Crawford of the Giants, their power first baseman, I think he's been ruled out for the entire playoffs, too. So that takes a big bat out of the Giants lineup.
Was it Crawford or Bell? I thought it was Brandon Bell.
Oh, was it Bell? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. I mixed them.
But that's still a big bat to lose, though. He was my underrated player at the start of the season. He had a great year.
You nailed that.
but he has a broken finger, I believe. So that's while it's not Crawford, it's still a big bat to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this NL is a little tough, I think. I'm gonna go Dodgers tomorrow night. I think Max Scherzer is just he's been lights out since he went to the Dodgers. I mean, he was lights out in DC, but he's got a better lineup in LA. So I'm gonna go Dodgers tomorrow night. I'm gonna go. Not to say that about Brandon Belt. I'm gonna go Dodgers over Giants. I think it could still. I think it's gonna go 5. That series between the Dodgers and the Giants. And I'm going to pick Milwaukee over Atlanta.
That's a hard pick for you.
Yeah. I mean, Atlanta did what they had to do. And my other underrated player at the beginning of the year, Jock Peterson, you're welcome. I still think that Brave bullpen, I'm just not confident enough in them. The way that they've been up and down throughout the year. As you said, Jason, as Will Smith goes, but the Braves will go. And one series and 1 week does not a season make.
Agreed.
As we've said about Riley and Harper. So 1 week does not make a season for Will Smith. I'm going to go Brewers over the Braves. I do think that's going to go 5-2. Yeah. And then I'm going to say Dodgers over the Brewers.
All right.
The one thing,
5 or 6.
The one thing, Joe, that you mentioned here that I was kind of starting to think about, and this is more of a reason to also for me to take the Braves, is the Brewers didn't have as tough of a division either. So I'm not sure what kind of Brewers team they are. Whereas the Braves, while the division had less wins, the division was being up on each other a bit more. So I think the Braves are a little more battle tested at the moment than the Brewers.
Plus the Braves on that same line, all of September, they were playing the NL West, mostly out west. And, they had the Giants out west. They had the D-backs. They had the Rockies. The Dodgers at the end of August. But still, they played all of the West teams right at the end there. So they faced the gauntlet.
Yeah, that's a solid point.
I can't believe we're talking about the D-backs and the Rockies as the gauntlet.
No, they're not part of the gauntlet. But you know what I'm saying? We've talked about this. East Coast teams suck out in the West. West Coast teams suck out in the East.
Yeah, no, it's a good point though, because there was a lot of years, before the NHL realigned their divisions, where the Capitals, were Southeast Division champs, and that really didn't mean a whole hell of a lot. They'd run through that division, they'd get to the postseason and get hammered pretty quick because they weren't battle tested. So it definitely does say something when you have the road.
The Brewers didn't have as tough of a division. Sorry.
You're fine. So we go to the World Series. Let's go to the World Series. My World Series pick was the Brewers and the White Sox, a Midwest battle that probably nobody saw coming. And for me, I'm looking at it, and I think the White Sox are just the more complete team here. And an update on the game: Yankees just had a home run. So it's now 3-1 in the top of the 6th. Yankees having to make a move, and that got it started there with the solo shot from Rizzo. But for as good as for the Brewers to get there, sometimes magic just runs out. So, the clock strikes midnight. So I think the White Sox are going to bring a World Series to Chicago for me. So, Joe, who do you have for your World Series winner?
Yeah, based on what I've done, I think the White Sox are by far and away the best of that bunch. You have 3 or 4 really quality starting pitchers. You've got some good bullpen arms to get you to the closer, and you have two options to close the game. I mean, you have two pitchers, as I said last night. You've got two pitchers who can go multiple outs. 4 or 5 out saves. Hendricks does it one night, and Kimbrel does it the next night. I mean, that's a great problem to have.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew, World Series.
So my World Series was looking at Braves and White Sox. If it gets there, that's going to be a phenomenal series. Both teams have great starting pitching. The bats are going to be great on both sides. And Joe, yes, you're right. We don't have the closer, but we have two setup men that honestly should be the closer that, as I've been mentioning for the last 3-4 weeks, that Snit needs to take the best matchup and either throw Luke Jackson out there or Tyler Matzik and then use Will Smith as setup man or seventh inning man, depending on how the game's going. But regardless, you know what? Screw it. I'm taking the homer pick. Braves in 7.
There you go. I can't fault you one bit for that, Andrew. I would have been shocked if you went any other way. And that's totally fine in this house. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I would have been more surprised if you hadn't picked the Braves. But I am going to take, and I know this won't be a surprise to Andrew, but I am going to take the White Sox over the Braves. And the big reason for that is the bullpen. I think the White Sox have a better bullpen overall than the Braves do. And let's face it, Andrew, Snit's not going to move Will Smith out of the closer role. So
it's too late to do that.
Like he's had all season to try, and he's had since the All-Star break since they got Rodriguez in, and he hasn't. So that's not going to change come playoff time, especially World Series time. So I think the bats do favor the White Sox a little bit more, and I think that the starting pitching, while it's fairly even, I give a slight edge to the White Sox. So I think the White Sox are going to win that one. I'm going to go 6 games.
All right, very good. We switch now from the diamond to the gridiron. We'll go to college football first. We'll just go straight to the pick'ems in college this week, keeping it in line with what we do. Oh wow, I didn't see a costume change coming. Boy, did not see a wardrobe change coming, but nothing. I probably should have.
I thought the whiskey was hitting me a little hard or something. Like
I was like, what in the world is happening? Right.
To be fair, also, the air conditioner is off and it is sweltering in here. I couldn't wear 2 jerseys any longer.
Well, there you go. All right, we'll go, obviously just teams, top 25 teams playing each other. We start at noon. No, I actually think this is a 3. No, this is a noon game. My apologies. Number 13, Arkansas. They are 4-1. They're at number 17, Ole Miss. They're still trying to stop Alabama from scoring again. Nope. Alabama just scored again. Never mind. They're 3-1, but they are a 6.5 point home favorite. 66 is your over/under line on this one. Two teams coming off of big losses. Arkansas just never showed up in their game against Georgia. 37-0 loss last week. Ole Miss gets smoked by Alabama. I don't think either result was surprising. So I think I'm just going straight home field advantage on this one, with two teams that are just trying to figure out what bullet train hit them a week ago. So I'll go Ole Miss at home. I'll give them even the 6.5 to cover. And I will go even over the 66 points because it's an SEC game, and despite what people want to believe, defense is not played a lot of times in the Southeast Conference. Jason, we'll go to you.
Yeah, so Arkansas. No, I'm not going to take the Razorbacks here. I am going with Ole Miss. For one of the main reasons you just said, Jim, is, they're at home. And home field, especially at the college level, is just huge. And I think it's going to come down to I think Coral is going to be better than Jefferson. And I think the Ole Miss defense is going to be able to stop Smith, the Arkansas running back. So I'm going to go with Ole Miss, I think they cover. And with how beat up those teams are, I think the over is going to take it as well.
All right, sounds good. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Ole Miss is going to win this game. I do think they're going to cover the spread. Arkansas, they do have a really good defense so far. So I do think we're going to see the under, not the over, but it's going to be close either way.
All right, very good. Joe, how about you?
I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Ole Miss, but they're not going to cover. So I think it's going to be less than 6.5.
All right, so you get Arkansas plus that 6.5. All right, then we go to Georgia 5-0. They're a 14.5-point road favorite, and number 18 Auburn, who is 4-1. 46 is your over under on this one. This one, of course, Saturday 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. Yeah, I can tell you right now, I'm taking the over at 46. Georgia might score that many points by themselves in this game. This one's pretty easy. I don't think Auburn belongs in the top 25, much less in the top 20. So I'll take Georgia plus the 14.5 and definitely over for me. Joe.
Yeah, I'm going with you, Jim. It's hard to argue with how good Georgia has been playing this year.
Absolutely. Andrew.
Yeah, Georgia's one of those few SEC teams that does consistently know how to play defense. Georgia's going to wipe the field with Auburn. It's not going to be close. Georgia is definitely going to win this. They are going to cover the spread, and we're going way over.
All right, sounds good. Jason.
Yeah, Georgia's clearly easily one of the top two teams in the division, and I mean, there's such a drop-off, I think, after 1 and 2. And my notes here for Georgia, I chose Georgia, and my notes simply just say better.
Yeah, there's nothing Brilliant. Scientific about this one. There really isn't.
So, I mean, I think Georgia's going to cover. It's not going to be close, and the over is going to happen. Georgia might have that before the start of the fourth quarter. So,
yeah. I mean, they hung 37 on Arkansas, who is on both sides of the ball a better team than Auburn. They went 37-0 against the Razorbacks. I'm almost scared of what they're going to do to Auburn on Saturday. But then we go to the Big Ten, obviously a matchup that definitely has your guys' attention and everybody here in the state of Pennsylvania. Number 4, Penn State, they're 5-0. They're at number 3, Iowa, also 5-0, a 2-point home favorite. 41.5 is your over-under. This one, 4 o'clock on Saturday on Fox. 41.5. That smells Big Ten football right across the board. I don't care what anybody says. I know, Jason, we were talking about this one. The fact that Iowa wasn't a big favorite last week, small favorite this week, despite being at home. And the only reason I think they jumped Penn State in the rankings, and again, rankings in early October don't really mean that much, but I think it's just because of what the spread was last week with them. They actually came in, I believe, in underdog last week, which tells you all you need to know about the faith of the odds makers when it comes to the Hawkeyes. And as much as I would love to pick against the Nittany Lions in this one, I don't see it. I still don't necessarily know what Penn State is. Their toughest test was Auburn, I think, maybe Indiana. I don't think either of those is much of a test. So I don't necessarily know what they are, but I also don't think Iowa's is any more proven. If Penn State's going to prove me wrong, they're going to do it after this Saturday. I think they win this game. I don't think it's that close. So obviously, that they're going to cover that 2 that's in Iowa's favor. I'm probably taking the under here. I don't think either of these teams' offenses are moving that well. Penn State, the only thing that's going to give them an edge in any of their remaining games, the meat of their schedule still to come, is that defense. You got to hope your offense figures it out. Hanging 24 on Indiana probably isn't going to get it done against some of the bigger teams in the Big Ten. But Penn State wins this one, and I will take the under. Jason.
Yeah, so I was very torn about this one especially after seeing them get 24 against Indiana, which the Indiana defense figured out how to stop the deep plays. That's what Penn State thrives on, is those bigger plays. I actually think Penn State's biggest win aside from Auburn is actually the first game of the season at Wisconsin, because first time you have the full stadiums, things like that. While Wisconsin has played terribly lately, that was a huge first game with the fans in the crowd. I am not a big Sean Clifford fan. I don't think he is that great of a quarterback. And Penn State has the wide receivers, but I ultimately think that being at Iowa, they have that great pass defense, which can cause Clifford to make mistakes, combined with Penn State struggling this season with the running game. I'm taking Iowa at home.
Wow.
And part of that is also so that I don't feel as let down if Penn State loses on Saturday.
That's fair.
I'd rather pick them to lose and they win, as opposed to be like, yeah, they're gonna win by 20 points and then they lose by 30. So I'm gonna take Iowa, mainly because it is at Iowa, and I also I think they'll cover the 2.5, and I'm definitely taking the under in this one.
And let's be clear about this. If Penn State's losing this game by a 3 and a 0, that's a 3.0. There's no way Iowa's getting a 30-point win over anybody right now, I don't believe. But Andrew, we'll go to you.
So one thing that gives me some hope is actually the game last week against Indiana. Penn State showed that they were able to start running the ball when the deep ball wasn't there. And they still got a couple explosive plays off, but they showed that they were at least capable of starting to drive and grind. And Indiana's defense is not the problem on that team. It's the offensive play calling. We were talking about this in our group chat last week, that if Indiana had somebody competent calling plays on offense, that game could have been very different. So and remember, we're also not playing a true night game at the Black Magic of Kinnick Stadium as well.
That's true.
Also very helpful. Although that said, Penn State did go in a couple years ago and beat Iowa at Kinnick on the last play of the game. So they're one of the few Big Ten teams I would actually trust to go in and be able to do that, because Franklin seems to have figured that out. So I do take Penn State to win. I think they cover the spread. I'm not going over. You got to be kidding me. Penn State. These are two teams that famously played to a 6-4 game, and that was 2 safeties versus 2 field goals, not a touchdown and a missed extra point.
Yeah, no kidding. Andrew, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you guys touched on the Penn State-Indiana game last week. Obviously, I watched that with quite a bit of interest. A 14-0 game in that game felt like 35-0. Just the way that there was really no energy on either side of the ball in that game. It just felt like, you're down 14, but it feels like you're down 30 with the way that game went. That said, I'm going Iowa. I think they either cover or they win by 1.
Okay.
It's hard for me to decide on that, and it's definitely under.
Yeah, at least
I just don't think that. I mean, Auburn. I mean, we just basically a few minutes ago talked about how terrible Auburn is compared to Georgia, and that's really. Wisconsin has been awful pretty much all year, and Indiana has been a lot of issues. I think the issue with Indiana, I think, is the quarterback coming off the ACL tear again, and he just doesn't trust himself. You could tell he doesn't trust himself out there. So and now he's out again. He separated his shoulder on Saturday night. So I think it's less play calling and more confidence of Penix as a player for Indiana, but I do think Iowa wins this game.
Yeah, and I mean the thing with Indiana is and I was skeptical about their success a year ago, and it wasn't anything negative against them. I just looked around the rest of the Big Ten, and you saw a lot of, a lot of rosters that were limited because of COVID issues and all the stuff that went into last year. And you had empty buildings. We've seen what's happened in Indiana since they get back in these full stadiums, and they're a middle of the road team, and there's nothing wrong with being that when you're Indiana. But let's switch gears here, guys. We go to the National Football League, and we'll close here. We're kind of basically at the 25% loaded screen on the season. Now with 18 weeks and 17 games, there's not really a clean quarter way through the season. But 4 weeks into the year, I think we're starting maybe to figure things out and who's what. One undefeated team still remains, and that's the Arizona Cardinals coming off their big win over the Rams on Sunday. So let's give our thoughts on who we think right now, after the first month of the year, is the best team in the league. And I'm looking at 3 teams, and probably to the surprise of a lot of people who listen to this show, I'm not ready to put the Dallas Cowboys in that in that lineup yet. And it's only because now their only loss is a 2-point loss on opening night, banner night in Tampa Bay. But I have to see this thing out the entire way. They beat the Chargers. They had a win this week against the Panthers. I still don't totally know what the Panthers are. Your other win is against an Eagles team who's not very good. If the Cowboys continue to develop, and especially if the defense continues to develop, because the thing I've said all summer, the thing I said dating back to when Dak Prescott almost had his foot snapped off last October, is as long as Dak Prescott is healthy, the Dallas Cowboys right now are the best team in the NFC East. And there's no debate about that. There's literally zero debate. You can try to argue, but you're wrong. So as long as Dak Prescott is healthy, they're the best team in the East. What does that really mean? I don't really know. I want to see this team to continue to develop. They have games against Kansas City still on the schedule. You have games, I think, against the Raiders still on the schedule. So there's a lot of good teams still on this schedule that the Cowboys can prove that they're where they need to be as this team continues to develop. And the defense under Dan Quinn, much improved this year. But I want to see more out of it. My 3 teams that I'm looking at are the Cardinals at 4-0. You can't not put them in there at this point, especially considering what they did this weekend. The Chargers, their only loss is to that Cowboys team. They've also beaten the Chiefs. And then the Buffalo Bills. Now the Bills have not necessarily been tested too much. I know they have Kansas City this week. But it's not necessarily the competition has been strong, but it's the way they're dominating the competition that impresses me. But right now, I have a hard time not giving the NFL's best to the Arizona Cardinals. You're playing in what is arguably, if not definitively, the best division in football, and you're sitting on top, and you beat a very good Rams team, definitively in Los Angeles this past Sunday. So to me, Arizona is your number 1 team 4 weeks in. Andrew.
I agree. Arizona's a great team. I'm taking Buffalo right now, though. Like you said, a 3-1 record. They've got a plus 90 points differential. They've allowed the fewest points so far at 44. They're only allowing 216.8 yards a game on defense, which is first in the NFL. They've gotten 7 turnovers on defense. That's tied for first with Dallas. They've collected 12 sacks, which is 6th in the NFL. They're allowing the opposing QB to throw at a 56.2 percentage, which is 2nd in the NFL. And the opposing QB passer rating is 56.1, which is top in the NFL for defense right now. Defense wins championships.
Yeah, can't argue there. Matt checking in with us in the comments. Yeah, if you're following along with us, speaking of Dallas, Jalen Smith owed $7.2 million this year, released by the Dallas Cowboys this evening, not long before we came on the air. I'm not shocked that he got released. I'm shocked they did it mid-season. He's been exposed numerous times, and it's been getting worse. The defense is worse when he is on the field. It's a bummer for me as a Cowboys fan, and obviously as a Notre Dame fan as well, to see that guy come from the injury against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl to getting back and getting on the field. But he just hasn't developed the way the Cowboys wanted him to, and it's kind of refreshing, though, in a way, to see a Cowboys coaching staff go, "This isn't working. We're moving in a different direction." So I wish Jalen Smith the best, but I'm at least encouraged to see that from a Cowboys coaching staff. So Jason, obviously, since the Cowboys topic brought up, you can touch on that with Smith as well. And then who do you think is the NFL's best 4 weeks in?
Yeah. So thanks, Matt, for that. Matt's a buddy at work here who is a resident Raiders fan, I believe. So he was living the high life for a little bit, but
until last night.
Until last night was a little rough, but I'm in a group chat with him and a few other guys for fantasy football and other sports stuff, and never saw Waller that amped was his big comment from last night.
For sure.
But yeah, so with Jalen Smith, I honestly had not realized that he was playing so terribly. I think because I was so focused on how well Trayvon Diggs was playing, 5 interceptions in 4 games. So with him struggling, I think they made the right choice, and he'll get picked up by somebody. I know there's NFC East teams that could use that type of help. So he'll get picked up, I think, in no time. As far as my top 3 teams right now, I had the same 3 teams, but I think I also am going to go with the Cardinals as your top team. I mean, with the way that they won last weekend and just how solid they seem to be playing right now. I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, I sat James Conner the last 2 weeks because he was supposed to get like 5 points was his projection, and he's been 20.
Mother.
So I mean,
James Conner.
If I were to put him in this week, that will be the time that he gets like 3.
I already have him. That is going to happen because I already have him in my lineup for next week because I lost this week and last week because I didn't have him in my lineup because I didn't trust it. So now he is guaranteed to get 5 or less.
But I think the Kyler Murray, the way he's been playing, the defense in general, is just outstanding. But I mean, like Andrew, you went with the Bills. There, you can't go wrong with the Bills as a pick either. So I think those 3 are the clear best teams right now. Jim, I have a question for you. If Dallas beats Tampa Bay, now I know, me being a Cowboys fan, you being a Cowboys fan, I think you feel the same way. I personally felt as though the Cowboys kind of got a little robbed of that victory there with the lack of an offensive pass interference call at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But say Dallas pulls that off and Dallas is 4-0. Does that change your thoughts on them at all?
Maybe. I still think because Tampa is sitting at 2-2 right now. And I feel like Tampa may just be kind of similar to where we're at, where they were at a year ago, where you get a little banged up. You'd have to get healthy near the end because the roster's arguably the best in football, at least the most seasoned. I mean, they brought back every starter from the Super Bowl win. They are dealing with a lot of injuries right now, which I think plays into that 2-2. Maybe if they win that game, maybe I believe it a little bit more because I am looking at, like, yes, you beat the Chargers. And this week you beat the Panthers because I'm not totally sold on the Panthers yet. Now they do look good. Darnold looks good. Darnold looks like the guy that he was at USC. And I think it's further proof, not that we need any further proof of how bad the New York Jets are, but I think it really is making an example out of the fact that the Jets are just that bad. And So I'm not sure what the Panthers are. You dominate an Eagles team, then again, there should be no surprise there. So maybe if they beat Tampa Bay, I'd maybe put them above the Bills. I still think, despite the Cowboys beating them, I think the Chargers overall have probably looked better and more convincing. Or maybe that's me protecting myself from years of abuse by the Dallas Cowboys franchise. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those two things. But what about you? If they win that game, do you put them near the top?
I think I do. I probably had them in my top 5. I think even with that loss, I think that Dan Quinn's defense is spectacular. I mean, I believe that they're tied for takeaways, or they have the most takeaways in the league, and the play of Dak Prescott. The play of even Zeke Elliott, he's running much better. He looks quicker. So
apparently Zeke heard the talk about how he's not a good running back anymore and went, actually, I am.
Hold my beer.
Yeah. I'm going to change your mind about that, which is refreshing. So sports writers of the world, continue to tell Zeke he's not any good anymore. Please. I want you to do that for me.
Yes.
Joe, how about you? What are your top teams and team in the NFL right now?
It's hard to argue with Buffalo. They really are defensively probably the best. Like you said, Jim, the way they're dominating teams. I know they're not playing maybe the best competition, but they're dominating in these games. I think other than maybe a week 1 loss or something, they've really done really well, I think. Them, and I think I'm a big believer in Sean McVay, so I'm going to go with the Rams too, I think. There's something to be said for what the Cardinals are doing 4-0, but I think, could we be looking at, to me, it's probably the Rams and the Bills.
Okay. Yeah, and the Rams losing to the Cardinals, it happens. I mean, good teams have games where they just don't show up. I don't think people need to panic about the Rams. That team is really, really good. They're going to continue to be really, really good. So no concerns there. Speaking of those Rams, well done, Joe. I'm proud of you for making that segue, because we're going to look at what I think are the 4 biggest games in the National Football League this coming week. And we actually start 2 nights from now. Thursday night, you have those 3-1 Rams. They're a 1.5-point road favorite at 2-2 Seattle. 54.5 is your over/under on this one. 820 on Fox and the NFL Network. I think this is a bounce back game for the Rams. They absolutely got smoke bombed at home. They're embarrassed. They're licking their wounds a little bit. And I don't think Seattle's that good. I don't care that they are at home. I think a bit of the mystique has worn off with the 12th man and the Legion of Whom and all of that up there in Seattle. So I like the Rams and Matt Stafford to come out and put up a lot of points. Obviously, they're going to cover that 1.5. 54, man, that's a good line. That's a real good line. I hate when they actually put a really good line on these games. I wouldn't bet this game, because I would never bet Thursday games, because it just stupid things happen on Thursday. I'll go under. Because Seattle's defense is playing pretty well, and I mean the Rams defense speaks for itself. So Rams plus and the under. Joe, since you transitioned us so well, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jim. I'm going Rams, and they'll cover and go, I think, under as well.
All right.
I really do think that Seattle is just not the same team that they were a couple of years ago. It's one thing to play in Seattle. It's another thing to play in Seattle with Richard Sherman in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, no kidding. Andrew, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Rams in this one. I think they're going to cover. Dude, I hate Thursday night games too. Shit. Give me the under. I don't know. I hate Thursday night games.
Yeah, if you're debating, I would always go under, because I feel like the part of the game, especially when you have two really good defensive teams, your offenses are really going to suffer on those Thursday night games. So if you have money to light on fire, bet the under on a Thursday night. Jason. Jason, are you with us still? Wake up, Jason.
Sorry, I was muted while I was coughing.
No. Oh, well, good. I appreciate that.
I'm not used to this live interaction and video feed here. I'm used to being able to stop recording and restart.
No problem at all.
But kind of like my notes from the Georgia game, I have the same for the Rams. They're just better. I think Seattle being at home is generally a challenge. Like I believe what Joe said, Richard Sherman not being on that defense makes it much less scary. And I think the Rams win this one. I think they cover. And, y'all took the under. So just to try and be different, I'm going to take the over on this one. I think the defenses are going to struggle a little bit and the offenses are just going to light it up. Why not?
So you're going to do the exact opposite you did for the last week at Pick'em just to try and preserve your lead. You're actually going to take a chance.
Yeah.
Well, no.
I mean, if I'm given the option between trying to crush you in Pick'em or take the kneel down and cement my victory to pop the champagne, I'm doing the Landry shift all day, every day.
And I mean, certainly no one will argue that you are different, Jason. That is 100% proven.
Cheers.
Then we go to Sunday, 4:05 on CBS. The 2-2 Chicago Bears versus the 3-1 Las Vegas Raiders. They are 4.5-point home favorite coming off the loss last night. So short week for Vegas. 45.5 is your over under on this one. Remember to everybody, especially fantasy managers, this is the first week of London games. So there is a game, I think it's Atlanta and the Jets. So if you're bold enough to have players from the Jets or the Falcons, that game kicks off at 9:20 in the morning. So here on the East Coast. So be ready for that. But we go
for that.
As if we didn't punish England enough with the
Right?
American Revolution, we're going to throw the Jets Falcons to them.
Here's the Jets and the Falcons. Keep them. In fact,
Not only that, how many years have they had the freaking Jaguars out there?
I mean, like here, it's gonna sell. It'll be a sellout, right? More of a sellout than you'll have over here. But Bears at Raiders. Man, just when everybody, or not everybody, at least some people were starting to believe that the Raiders had turned that corner. The Raiders reminded us who they really are. No, I'm gonna go. I think the Bears might cover 4.5. I think this is going to be a close game. But I think the Raiders still win. I think it really comes down to the offensive line of the Chicago Bears. Like it's unfortunate that everybody thinks that, Justin Fields can solve all of our problems. Oh, is he going to play left tackle? Is he going to play center? Like, I don't think he is. So give me the Bears. I'll still say the Bears cover 3.5. Raiders going to win, and I'm going to go over. I'm going to try and be hopeful over because I have Waller on my fantasy team. So I got to play that. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, Matt, I don't know if you're still listening to us or watching us here, but I'm going to take your Raiders this week. I don't know that they cover, but I mean, they showed life late against the Chargers. So I think this is a good rebound week for the Raiders, and the Bears are just I don't think they're good even with Fields right now. There's too many holes there. So Raiders, I think they cut. I don't think they cover. But Jim, what was that over under?
45.5.
I'll take the under on that one.
Okay, so you are saying that the Bears are who we thought they were.
Yes.
Andrew, go ahead.
The Bears.
Yeah, imagine that another Ohio State quarterback comes to the NFL and can't immediately save a team. Who would have thought? I haven't been saying that for years, that you shouldn't trust Ohio State quarterbacks in the NFL or anything.
To be fair, though, Andrew, at least they get starts.
Well, Andrew, I generally agree with you on that one. I'm going to say the verdict's still out on Fields, because Fields, any inability that he has in that offense has nothing to do with him.
No, I do,
at least right now.
Yeah, I do happen to agree with that, and you're right. He can't play left tackle. The Bears need Joe. This is like watching Minnesota last year with that Swiss cheese offensive line we were playing with, which is only marginally better this year. But then again, our first round pick hasn't played yet because he was coming off surgery. So I'm hoping that gets better. So I am going to take the Raiders in this one. I do not think the Bears are going to do this, especially in the road out in the West Coast. Are the Raiders going to cover? Yeah, I'll take the Raiders to cover, but I won't be surprised if they don't. I am going to take the over, though.
Okay. And Joe.
Yeah, the verdict is still out on Justin Fields. I think if he had the line that Dak Prescott has in Dallas, he'd be a much better quarterback. I think if Dak had the line that the Bears have, he would be awful.
I mean, you're probably not far off with that assessment.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that to me is a big reason that Romo had any success, is the line was finally got better, and since they stockpiled linemen, they really got a lot better as an offense. So for Dallas, at least, I'm going with the Raiders. I don't think they cover, and I'm going to go under, I think.
All right, very good. Then we go with the 3-1 Browns at the 3-1 Chargers. This one is actually a straight push. There's no favorite in this one at all. I don't necessarily agree with that, but 49.5 is your over-under, 405 on CBS. I think the Chargers should probably get at least a little bit of an edge here. This is one of the more intriguing matchups of the early season, because you have a great offense with the Chargers against a great defense with the Browns. You have a pretty decent defense with the Chargers against a decent enough offense. And I've said for a while, like the Browns' biggest problem is Baker Mayfield, because I'm not sold on Baker Mayfield as a true, bona fide start. Now, there has, like I've said before, there's been a lot of worse quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls. But he is definitely their biggest problem. I'm gonna pick the Chargers in this one. I think it will be close. I think because of the Browns defense, I'm going to take the under, the 49.5. The Chargers are going to score points. But I just don't know if combined it's going to be enough. I mean, the Browns only put up 14 against Minnesota this week. So
14.
now Minnesota, I think, has a little bit better defense than the Chargers do. But I just don't know if combined we're going to see 50 points in this game. So I'll go Chargers to win. I will take the under. Joe, go ahead.
I'm going to go Chargers, and I'm going to take the over.
All right. Very good. Andrew.
I completely agree with you on Baker Mayfield. When he plays crap defenses, he lights them up. When he plays good defenses, he doesn't play well. Last week, he went 15 for 33, 155, no touchdowns, no picks. He was sacked 3 times. He had a QBR of 15.6 and a 59.5 rating. I mean, if Minnesota's offense would have done anything at all last week, they would have won. That said, I was spared from watching the game because the boys and I were at the Franklin Institute, thank God. So my pick for this one, I am most definitely not going to take the Browns. I'm going to take the Chargers to win that one. I'm going to go under. I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest, kind of similar to what we saw with Minnesota and the Browns last week.
All right, good. Jason.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are more well-rounded. I think Eckler, you may see him go off a little bit. I think he will get through that Browns run defense. So I think I'm going to take the Chargers. I think they cover the push.
Covered the push. I love that line, by the way. They covered the push.
Watch them tie the game just because Jason said they cover the
Fuck,
push.
that'd be awesome.
Watch it be a damn tie.
I love it.
That would be amazing. And I do think I'm going to take the under on this one as well. I think both defenses will put up a good fight.
I always put the disclaimer out there. I mean, for the degenerates out there, depending when you pick up this episode, we do this on Tuesday. So these things, especially your Sunday games, are going to move a little bit before we get there. So make sure you plan accordingly. And our last game for the weekend is the team we were just talking about, the 3-1 Buffalo Bills. They are on the road at 2-2 Kansas City, who is a 2.5-point home favorite. 57 is your over/under on this one. This is the Sunday night game, 8:20 Eastern time on NBC, as well as Peacock, the Peacock streaming service. This game is very, very, very fun. I have no clue really how to pick this one because, like I said, the Bills, they've been winning in dominant fashion. But they've been winning in dominant fashion against, if I have it here, isn't it the Texans, as I'm looking for it, the Texans, the Washington football team, and the Miami Dolphins. You lost week one, 23-16 to the Steelers, who are infinitely worse now than they were in week one, and I love every second of that. But you had a 35-0 win against the Dolphins. You had a 43-21 win against the Washington football team and a 40-0 win against the Texans. So your defense is your offense is doing the job. Your defense is doing the job. They're doing it against bad teams. Kansas City, I think, has been one of the more surprising teams, not in a good way, to start this season. I think it's a product of injuries. I think it's a product of suspect defense. And I think it's a product of this team's played a lot of football over the last couple of years. The Chiefs will eventually find themselves. I think they'll still make the postseason. But to me, this game is about the Buffalo Bills proving that those 3 wins were not just because they played bad teams. So I'm going to take the Bills. I'm going to take them to cover. I think they're going to cover by a good bit. And I'm going, even though the Bills defense is so good, I'm going to take probably a slight over because it's for the Chiefs. It's going to have to be a shootout. Mahomes is going to have to be Patrick Mahomes. So this should be must-see TV on a Sunday night on NBC. But Bills plus and the over. Jason, we'll go to you.
Yeah. So the Chiefs are riding high after their win in Philly to stop their losing streak. With Matt not being on the show tonight, I was gonna say, even though the refs tried to take the win away from the Chiefs, just to see his response, because I do know
I can feel the heat coming from my computer right now.
But no, in all seriousness though, like the refs were more in favor of the Chiefs last week, Matt. I agreed with you on that one. As much crap as I give you, even friends who are not, against the officials, usually like they were even saying how bad that officiating was. But I think Mahomes is going to look to get Kelsey more involved against that Bills defense. I think you're going to see him kind of get open a little more in some zone coverage. So I'm going to take the Chiefs this week. I think they're just going to take it straight up, and I think it will end up being a shootout. So I'm going to take the over.
I mean, here's the deal. If anything's going to equalize this game, it's the environment in Arrowhead. It's a great home field advantage for Kansas City. Joe, we'll go to you for this one.
Yeah, I'm with Jason here. I'm taking Kansas City. I think they're going to cover What was the over-under number?
It was 57.
I'm going to take the under, but I am going to go with the Chiefs and covering.
Yeah, I think it's again similar to the Rams Seahawks number. I think this is a really good number. I wouldn't bet this game. If I bet, if I was a bettor, I wouldn't bet this game. Andrew.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole if I was a bettor. No way. I'm going to take Buffalo. I stuck my foot out for them being one of the best teams in the league. I'm going to go with that defense. Kansas City lit up the Eagles, but they lit up the Eagles because the Eagles suck. Let's be honest here, guys. There's no reason to believe that the Eagles would, not do anything like that again. Sorry, hold on. I got something playing in my background. There we go.
See, now I feel bad that Matt's not here to even try and defend his team at the moment.
No, it's totally okay.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. Some video played on another tab, even though I turned all videos off for that. Go figure. All right, so yeah, I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think the Raiders will. The Raiders got
the Raiders.
Yeah,
wasn't that like three choices ago?
Yeah, that was 3 choices ago. Yes, I'm taking the Bills. I think the Bills are going to cover. I'm going to take the under. I think the defense is going to show up. Mahomes is going to try and turn it into a shutout. But let's be honest, guys. Teams that play good pass defense have given him fits before. It's can they give him fits for 4 quarters?
Yeah, you're not wrong. And if there's a defense that's gonna, I even don't like to use the word neutralize Patrick Mahomes. It could definitely be
Limit
Buffalo.
Yeah, maybe limit's a better word.
Yeah, I think that is a better word. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week. Now we will go around the room. We'll start with Joe. Joe, let people know where they can follow you on Twitter. Keep track of everything you're doing. It was fun having you guys here.
Yeah, Big Jim, thanks for having us. It's been a blast. It's been fun to talk about something other than baseball a little bit, which has been fun. I'm on Twitter at JoltonJoe35. So that's where you can find me.
All right, sounds good. Jason, how about you?
Yeah, so Jim, thanks again for having us. Love you, buddy. This has been a great time. So cheers to you and the rest of the Huddle Up guys, and to my partners of Dollar Dogs and Beer. You can find me on Twitter at JRIEKER300. Stay tuned, though. That will probably be changing, and I will have a Dollar Dogs handle at some point.
All right. Sounds good, Andrew. Let people know where they can follow you, but also where they can follow and subscribe to the show, your show as well.
So the podcast right now, we're going by @DollarDogsNBeer on Twitter. I'm probably going to change that to @DDAB because it's just easier.
Nice. I like that.
And I got to say, I can't wait for Jason's new handle. I hate spelling his out every week because let's be honest. If you say Ricker, nobody's going to know how to spell it and find it on Twitter, which is probably the point I know. And for me, you can follow me on Twitter at PyroLord314. It's been the same it's been for a decade and a half. I don't even remember when I opened my Twitter up originally.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. I'm sure we'll have you back on the rotating cast of characters here on Huddle Up. We do appreciate that. Make sure you give these guys a follow and a subscribe on all podcast platforms. But you can subscribe to our show, of course, Huddle Up Podcast on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. Subscribe on YouTube as well. If you go to any of our social media links at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, as well as Huddle Up Pod on Instagram, you'll find the link tree. We have everything there. We have our merchandise over at whatamaneuver.net. Our home network, of course, NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com, and our secondary home is the Leap Sports and Music Network at leeivsports.com. Until next time, enjoy the week. Stay safe, everyone. And as always, go for the win.